Another sunny day and lots of families actually walking around the trails today. And with that in mind, what did I read today? How about this one, which is kind of interesting, as a lot of countries want to try to be the leader when it comes to the drone space. And this one says, France approaches Renault on drone production. So this is apparently a car company, I guess, in France. As it says here, France's defense ministry has approached Renault with a view to helping to manufacture drones. The automaker said on Sunday, after the ministry last week floated the idea French companies could help with production in Ukraine. We have been contacted by the defense ministry about the possibility of producing drones. Discussions have taken place, but no decision has been taken at this stage as we are awaiting further details on this project from the ministry, Renault said in a statement to Reuters. Earlier this Sunday, French news website France Info reported the French car maker was expected to produce drones in Ukraine. Asked about the report, the ministry told Reuters it was up to the car maker, without naming it, to say whether it would participate. Also, without naming any companies, Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu told French news channel LCI on Friday that France would set up a partnership between a major French car maker and a small defense firm to equip production lines in Ukraine for building drones. Drones have played a significant role in Ukraine's defense since Russia's full-scale invasion of the country in 2022, providing surveillance and strike capabilities that have shaped battlefield tactics against Russian forces. It kind of reminds me here, actually, not too long ago, where when there were a lot of demands for things like masks, there were certain people with the actual tools and machinery to produce it, even though that's not what they were designed to do business-wise, and so they actually just completely shift focus. So I guess it's kind of the same thing here. They have all the resources and capabilities, I suppose, to do that, so it makes sense for them to approach them anyways. Although with manufacturing drones, I don't know if they're going to make stuff like this, which was kind of interesting. Apparently, it says here, Ukraine's intel reveals inside look at Russia's new V2U Strike Drone. Looks like a pretty clear picture of it too. It says the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine has released the technical unpacking of the new Russian V2U Strike Drone, which is actively used in the Sumy sector. The drone's special feature is the autonomous selection of targets using artificial intelligence. The drone's computing system is based on the Chinese Litop A203 minicomputer, which uses the powerful NVIDIA Jetson Orin module. It is responsible for image analysis and targeting. Despite claims of domestic development, most of the V2U's components are of foreign origin. The drone has a GPS module in only one copy, probably due to the effective operation of the Ukrainian electronic warfare systems. And this part reminds me how, again, parts come from everywhere, especially with all that debate about sanctioning companies and so forth. It says, according to Ukrainian intelligence, the key components include a Japanese Sony sensor, electromagnetic relay from Irish Tay Connectivity, motors and servos from China, as well as SSDs and rangefinders made in China. The investigation identified 4 companies, 2 of which are registered in Russia and 2 in China. They are the ones engaged in supplying parts and assembling drones. Earlier, the Ukrainian intelligence disclosed the technical characteristics of other types of Russian weapons, including the S-8000 Bandro cruise missile. When there's war, there's money to be made by companies, I guess. And in terms of war and I guess just people fighting, as you know, there's been that recent story in California in the US where there's been those riots of people protesting against, I suppose, people that are in the country illegally and they're going to be deported. And there had to be, for example, National Guards and police trying to maintain, I guess, order. And of course, there are news reporters on the ground, and apparently one of them was shot with a rubber bullet, apparently. It was an Australian journalist named Lauren Tamasi who was reporting for 9 News Australia. And while she was there, you can see in the video, there was an LAPD, I guess, riot police or something like that. The person was just looking at her for some reason. I think it's pretty obvious she's a reporter, but he decides to fire at her for whatever reason and she gets hit. You can tell she experienced pain over that, and then somebody in the background was yelling, "You effing shot the reporter." And it makes you wonder again, why did the person shoot her? Is that just standard procedure to get people to stand back per se when they're trying to maintain order? At the same time, I would think it's pretty obvious that the person is a reporter, and it seemed like, I suppose, they were instructed ahead of time to stay in a certain spot. That's usually what happens anyways during these situations. They tell them, hey, stay on that side. And here there was some controversy about something called a Bill C-2, which was supposed to strengthen things like, I guess, border rules to enable people to catch drug dealers, for example, more easily. But people are saying there's so many little pieces of details that gives the authority figures unlimited power where they could use it to go after, let's just say, anybody they want. So apparently it's a 139-page piece of legislation introduced under the Public Safety Minister, Gary Anand Sangari. I believe that's the same guy the other day I showed you where he knew absolutely nothing about the gun laws, for example. And for this bill, when it comes to things like data and collection, there's controversy about things, for example, how it allows limited warrantless data access from internet providers and permits authorities to open mail under statutory authority, raising privacy concerns. And one of the big ones is there's something to do about $10,000 where it prohibits cash transactions of $10,000 or more by businesses, professionals, and charities, even if split into smaller payments, and violators could face criminal code charges. So it's basically framed as a way to combat money laundering, as they say, because if you have that much money, people would automatically assume, hey, something funny is going on. But the fact that they say they can investigate you just for that amount in general, people are wondering, what is going on? Do you just want people to use, for example, let's say digital currency? So it's okay to transfer digital currency with $10,000, but cash it's not. So some people are saying this is a way to get rid of things like cash and all that, to make things digital. So there were some comments from people like the BC Civil Liberties Association saying, for example, this legislation could allow secret orders to internet and electronic service providers to share data with the state, bypassing any type of warrant process, as an example. Now that's kind of scary because, as you know, over the past couple of years, there was all that controversy of people's bank accounts being frozen and stuff. So can you imagine this now when you don't need any type of permission in that sense? I just assume, for example, this guy is up to no good, so you can do all this stuff without a warrant. So that is kind of scary when you think about it. And again, if this is the exact same guy that knew nothing about those gun laws and so forth while being in that position, it's not a good sign overall, I guess. It's a good example on how I guess many people would say, oh, whatever, this or that topic, it doesn't affect me, who cares? But if those same people are in charge of other things as well, it will eventually affect you. So you should be paying attention, in my opinion. All right, see you guys later.